Hi team, Sergeant Major Daly and I are here to share with you a new squad level tool you can put in your kit bag as you train on holistic health and fitness. It's called the High Achievement Series, and it gets after sometimes neglected but nevertheless vitally important domain of H2F, spiritual readiness. Unit ministry teams across our formation have taken the time to distill the principles found in FM 7-22 Chapter 10 into 4 key areas: leadership, squads, families, and souls.
Hey, that's right, sir. Now listen, I already know what some of you may be thinking. That may be great for some people, but religion isn't my thing. Well, here's the reality. The Army doesn't limit spirituality to just religion. It can include anything that provides you, the soldier, with the personal qualities necessary such as hope, meaning, purpose, and identity that you and your squad use to overcome times of stress, hardship, tragedy. You can find this series on YouTube and Divots.
That's right. And each squad will be able to combine the high achievement training with a team building activity of your choice. As you work to strengthen the professional connections within your squad, you will also be strengthening your spiritual readiness.
Remember, every domain at H2F is important to readiness and putting people first. The CG and I look forward to hearing how your squad is getting after the spiritual domain with 11th Airborne Division's very own High Achievement Series.
That's right. Arctic Angels.
Hello, and welcome back to this 4-part series called High Achievement. This episode will focus on the characteristics of a high-achieving family. Family life and relationships are often filled with ups and downs. And in this video, we will compare those challenges to the challenges of climbing a mountain. After each of the following videos, take a few minutes to discuss how you can have a high-achieving family.
High-achieving family is just a family that enjoys time together, loves making memories, is there for each other in times of need.
It goes both ways, soldier to his family, making sure he's giving them enough time, and then the other way, the family understanding the commitments we have here.
Communication. As long as you can communicate within your family unit, you're going to be okay.
I would say it would be that we all understood our role and our purpose in the bigger picture of life, and that also played out in our families.
Openly discuss it, vulnerability with each other, to create a path, to identify areas you can work on together.
It always comes down to communication. In our household, we do what's called the family meeting. If it's not daily, it's every other day.
Looks like a lot of love, unconditional love, unconditional support, you know, being able to agree to disagree.
I would say in a sense like another squad. It's a group of people that have come together to make good decisions in life and are about helping themselves and also helping each other and other families.
Close-knit and definitely spends time with each other in their off time, you know, instead of ignoring each other on like the phone or something.
For two people to work together, they need to trust each other, and they have to know that each person has their own problem, and then they have to figure out a way to work together.
It is a family that has the ability to adapt as well as maintain somewhat of a family structure.
Being able to speak freely and be respected as well.
Being with each other's presence, not just doing something that seems kind of meaningless and kind of annoying, actually spending quality time with their family.
Denali is one of the most spectacular places on earth. It's truly amazing. I remember one of the first times I saw Denali was on one of those little pull-outs where you can look through the telescope and see the summit. And I remember looking through the telescope with my little boy and thinking, this is amazing, and thinking I have to step foot on the summit of this mountain. And a few months later, I had that opportunity. And what I didn't know was how much training and preparation was involved in making that happen. And my family was a big part of that preparation, as always. They helped me my son helped me load my gear up whenever I would go train throughout the winter months leading up to the climb. And then just before the climb, my daughters and my son, they helped me pack all of my food in the garage and all of my gear, and it was just this huge mess. There was stuff everywhere. They were playing games and helping me put food in my bags, and it was just the garage was a disaster, mainly because of my little boy making a mess. But I love him. He's a great little boy, and we had a great time. And I told him one day me and him are going back together, but we'll see. Anyway, Mom will have a vote on that. And of course, my wife, she's always great in supporting the things that I endeavor to do, and I appreciate her sacrifice. But really, even on the mountain, there were so many great memories, but they pale in comparison to the memories that I have of family, because family and the memories we share with our family are more valuable than anything else.
Hey, so Mike and I met in college. We were on a small campus and everybody knew everybody. And we did not expect to meet our spouse there, but we did. And it was really special because we got to integrate with each other's friend groups. And so those friendships have continued and we have lifelong friendships together. So that was really special. And we got married right out of college because we were starting a new adventure. So we decided to start that together. Ended up having a larger family than we thought was going to happen. So we have a 23-year-old daughter, a couple of college boys, and then 4 kids in the house. Our youngest is 8 now, and we've been married 25 years.
25 years. There's a lot of things that in that 25 years, as far as memories that we've been able to share together. I've recently been thinking about what are my most fond memories, and I believe it's around birthdays, because we get the chance to celebrate with individually as well as a group each kid's birthday, and we've done different things from camo painting and scavenger hunts in the backyard to one of us making like cake. You don't ever just do the same cake, but doing a dinosaur out of donuts, which just was mind-blowing for the kids, and they can remember those things. But also our 13-year-old, during 13 is a very big transition for our families as the kids are moving into an age of accountability, and we do some pretty very focused time, a little bit larger birthday at 13, very intentional with them transitioning from being a little kid to more as an adult in training. So those have been very fond memories as we look back.
Yeah, and I would say for family memories, it's easy to say that big trips or big things that are obvious were your favorite memories, but a lot of times I find it's the spontaneous times that just organically just being together, having that time together. Like we did a spontaneous cherry seed spitting contest in the backyard one time, and then one time when Mike was deployed, it was chaos at the dining table, and my daughter just all of a sudden comes out and starts doing a dance along the back of us, and just hilarious things. And to hear the kids' memories now and things they remember that we don't even think about, it were really fun, those fun times. And I think about those times together, and also just the things that we do in our lives, things we accomplish, things we achieve, and how important it is to have the people that we love with us on the journey, whether we're doing the journey together or they're just supporting us in our journey, is extremely meaningful, and that is what I believe life is made of.
We're going to begin our climb today at base camp by answering this question. What are the best memories I have of my family? Take a few minutes to record your answer and discuss with your group before we move up to Camp 1.
All right, so the walk up to Camp 1 was like a dream. There were mountains covered with snow as far as you could see in every direction. There were enormous cornices hanging off some of the mountains. There were crevasses. It was just overwhelming. It was too much to process. I couldn't even begin to just to take it all in. And it was like I had died and gone to heaven.
Climbing a mountain is huge, suffering and hard work to get to the summit. So those summits are mountaintop experiences, but usually the journey there is a lot of hard work and a lot of intentionality.
Planning to be intentional in our relationship, I didn't know how to the degree of what that was going to take. So it's definitely morphed. It's kind of like making a budget. You can make a budget, but you don't have to be so rigid to it, so that you can actually pay for different things along the way. And that's kind of what it is with a relationship too. You know that you want to achieve something, you got to make sure that you're being proactive and intentional, or it's not ever going to take place. I think some of the practical ways of being intentional in your relationship is going to be maybe a date night, so that you can continue to grow and get to know your spouse. I think going to budget classes and making sure that you're not going to continue to argue about money is huge, because we've been in spaces where we had money or we haven't had money, and it seems to kind of flex like that. So that's been very helpful, especially when I was on deployment and Tracy did financial peace. It was able to help us get out of that space so we don't fight as much about money anymore. And then like figuring out how you're going to like raise your children as you grow has been something huge, and kind of going back and forth with us, just making sure that you have a plan moving forward, and sometimes that plan may adjust, and so you have to come back and you have to talk about it, and in order for you guys to continue to move forward. That's what we've done in our relationship.
I feel like in our world today, it's so busy and there's so many voices and so many things screaming at you, that we really do have to make the time, carve out the time, not just to be with each other and with our friends and with those close to us, but just to have rest time, to build in rest, to build in hang time that's not choreographed, but definitely just intentionality to be relaxed or be
That's good.
Just social with other people, or just things that really feed your spirit. Definitely build those in for you. Things that you're interested in, even if it's going to Barnes & Noble and reading a book for an hour or two, just building in time that will feed your spirit as you are pouring out to others in your lives and your careers.
Take a few minutes to answer this question. How can I be more intentional with improving my family relationships? Record your answer and discuss with your group before we move up to Camp 2.
Hearing that radio call was really sobering. A climber had fallen in the Denali Pass area of the mountain, which is up at about 18,200 feet. And I found out later from the Park Service that the climber was a Canadian climber, and due to the injuries he sustained, he was in the hospital for weeks. And it was very serious, and that was the evac helicopter going after the fallen climber. And that point in the climb really got our attention, at least my attention, because I had climbed some mountains before and never experienced any serious or never witnessed any serious injuries. But that was a reminder that this wasn't just your ordinary mountain and not your ordinary climb.
Camp, it sounds like the individual who fell off the Audubon has additional partners above the Audubon who are currently stranded because they don't feel comfortable moving down through that terrain without the protection rig.
You're going to get hurt. Now, expand on that.
Nice. It is true. So, I mean, anytime you have a relationship, it's risky business. I think most of the time as a chaplain, I have more times I'm talking to people about the hurt that they've experienced within the relationship. We talked a little bit last time about how we can actually mitigate some of those risks with intentionality, but I think that if we go in with the expectation that, hey, there's going to be some moments where I'm going to be hurt, rather than just candy coating the fact that in a relationship it's going to be rainbows and unicorns. I don't think that that's realistic at all, because we're coming to the relationship with a measure of baggage, perhaps from the way we were raised in our family of origin. We are coming with hurts that we've experienced from other friendships, hurts even from things that we couldn't control within our work, and some things that create triggers. And so in our relationship, especially in a committed relationship of marriage, it's we're going to have those places because we're expecting for this to be a safe place that we can express how we feel and be consoled and work through those things for us to grow and develop the relationship that we so desire to that maybe we've seen or that we want to aspire to that we've never seen.
I think too, a good point is that anytime you take the risk to draw closer to somebody, whether it's a closer friendship whether it's your family of origin that you are close to, even if you have a difficult relationship, you're close to them because they are your family of origin, or if you're choosing a marriage partner, there's definitely the wounding can, it just is inherently a stronger reaction when you are hurt and when you have conflict, because those are relationships you're choosing to go deeper with, so the risk is higher. And the risks that you have to take in those types of relationships obviously are things like honesty and opening up parts of yourself that you don't open up to in your with your coworkers and such. And those they create risks for sure. And I think when you're choosing to be vulnerable and opening up to each other, there's that risk of getting hurt. But with that trust, and as you build a healthy, trusting relationship, then you can work through those hurts more, and you can come through even stronger, just stronger and more whole, even in yourself. You know, when you realize, oh goodness, I'm reacting this way because when I was growing up, I reacted that way, and now I see how those two are tied together. And so then you can get some healing from that and grow. And so that iron sharpening iron is really good in our relationships and our friendships. And so those are risks that just happen because we want to feel connected to each other, and we want those deep relationships. I think the unhealthy risks is when we are desiring a connection so much with people that we go to unhealthy relationships. Right. We go to people that make us feel a certain way. We get a friendship with somebody because we feel accepted, but we compromise our values, our morals. We change our personalities, and those are the unhealthy ways that we have risk, and those aren't good long term. So making sure that the risks you are taking in your relationships are healthy and natural rather than unhealthy and damaging to who you are and your personality.
Right. I think one of the things I would add to that is that when you're getting into a place or any kind of relationship, especially one that's in marriage, is the commitment level in which you're establishing your relationship. So when you have a commitment level, then there's a place where there can be more vulnerabilities because you both are in agreement that this is where you're going to work things out. So with the commitment allows for there to be some places that there can be some risks that are involved, but it still allows for there to be resolution, and there can be forgiveness and all kinds of pieces that will take place in order for you to continue to press forward in your relationship. Take a few minutes to answer this question. When have you been hurt by taking a risk in a relationship? Record your answer and discuss with your group before we move up to Camp 3.
On the way to Camp 3.
So when we were near Camp 3, or actually on that day we were up near Camp 4 putting in our cache and then coming back to Camp 3. But Sergeant Swope, yes, he is human, forgot the stove, and it wasn't a really big deal but it could have been if we would have gotten pinned down in bad weather. You know, a stove's just this little piece of equipment, and as little as it is, it's probably the most valuable, one of the most valuable or important pieces of equipment on the trip, on the expedition, because the snow is our only water source. So we have to boil our snow to drink water, and we have to have that stove. So thankfully everything worked out just fine, no big deal. But we're reminded that the little stove, little things really are important on the mountain.
And it's all your guys' fault too, because we're all responsible, right?
I mean, I didn't know until like the last minute that we were bringing pots.
Only one team was
Hello?
bring a pot.
Hello?
And I didn't even know it was our team.
Oh. It's our team.
Personal responsibility.
Your team brings stove.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry,
We were
Swope's
supposed to
not
bring the stove.
available.
Did you bring
So
the
you know
stove?
why you didn't know it? It's because you walked away
burn.
from the group meeting.
No one?
I like this topic. Go ahead. Would you like to take this?
I'm going to. Lord help me. I think that I was thinking about this question, and the question about the little things that you forget about. Well, there's things that I think are important to Tracy and our relationship. So even before we were married and we were just dating, I think that cards, actually, just simple cards, like birthday cards, holiday cards, some kind of thing, just some small thing that she enjoys to receive, allows for her to know that I care about her, that I'm thinking about her. And so there's been, I think, numerous amount of times that I have forgotten a card. In fact, I don't even know if I do any cards anymore at 25 years. We get everybody else cards, but it's hard for us to remember to get each other a card. But I know that in the very beginning of our relationship, that was a very big thing, and that we would have a place where there could be like this standoff where I'm like, what's wrong? What happened? Everything okay? Well, you forgot to give me a card, and you know how much that means to me. And I'm like, oh, dang it. And those have just created, if you do that for a prolonged period of time, then they can really start to build up to where it creates some separation within your relationship. And it's so small. It's just a card going over, being mindful to go get it, to think about which one to pick, from there to think about how they would respond, whether it be funny or romantic. It's everything that's wrapped up in that card that means the most, because it's showing how much you care.
What are some other little things you've forgotten? Back rubs?
Oh.
No, just kidding. And truly hearing his perspective on the little things at the beginning of a relationship, I think, really? I don't even remember that now. It morphs over the years, but again, just remembering, the little things will change, obviously. The things that are special to you will change, but remembering those and just doing small acts of kindness and just showing each other and the other relationships you have in your life that they're important to you still.
Right.
That can be done through many different ways. So what are some little things that you've remembered?
That you've done? Or
that you've done.
Towards you?
Yeah, or anybody. What are some little things that you do?
Little things that I do? Recently, I think it's going to be giving flowers. Just really being intentional about getting flowers like every week. Now that we've taken a little vacation and come back from that, it's been a little bit shy, but I really want to be committed to getting flowers, because I think that Tracy is worthy of flowers and pretty things, and I think that it changes the mood of our house. So flowers, you never would have thought, rather than on just special occasions, weekly.
And what's really funny about that is that when we were first married, even when we were dating, he was like, I'm not going to do that traditional holiday stuff. That's just all made up. So I just don't want you to expect the traditional roses and such on holidays. So he set me up with the right expectation, but then over the years, I'm like, you can give in every once in a while. I'll take it every once in a while.
Right. Great. Thanks for roasting me.
It's fun though. But thinking about too the small things that become big things, I think those small acts of appreciation do build up and are very meaningful. I even think one of my favorite memories, special memories, is after I had my first daughter. I had complications during her birth, and so the recovery was tough. And there was a specific nurse who came in after a couple of days, and she changed my sheets, and I hadn't been able to shower for a while, and I believe she washed my hair, and then she rubbed my back. She said, "Do you have any massage lotion?" And I had some there, and she rubbed my back, and then she said, "Oh, and guess what? I'm also an opera singer." And she stood at the foot of my bed and sang a Christmas carol stunningly. And that was a small thing in her mind. Who knows if she even remembers doing that? But in that place of vulnerability for me, she did something very special, and that is a big deal now that I look back at it. It makes me cry every time I think about it, and it was a very special gesture that became a big deal. So that's a positive way. And then sometimes just the small infractions in our relationships that happen that seem little at the time build up. So we have to be careful to address those. If there's a small slight or an edge to, his voice when you're talking about something, it's important to address those things when they are the small things, because they will become big deals if not addressed in the moment.
Right. And I think that I always talk about expectation management. So for Tracy to share with me the things that are important to her, and for me to hear that and then to deliver is huge. So making sure that we speak up about those small things is going to help us in our relationship to really mitigate some pain, hurt, and misunderstanding. So
definitely when you do the small things and you don't even realize that they will add up, those are definitely significant emotional deposits that you're making, and that over time will build and it will grow your account to be very significant. And so those small things that you might not even think about in the moment, whether they be positive or negative, whether you're doing something kind for each other or you're bitey and irritated at each other, those definitely affect the future of that. And so making positive deposits will build your account much better. And also, of course, being bitey and snippy and having a tough time will draw negatively from that account.
So make sure that you're putting all the little pieces in that you can, because when you're a knucklehead, you make that high and mid draw, you can survive it. Take a few minutes to answer this question. What little things do I need to remember? Record your answers and discuss with your group before we move up to Camp 4.
So I don't mind carrying heavy loads. I mean, that's part of being a soldier, right? But there's one thing I really don't like carrying, and that's this thing called the Clean Mountain can. It's a little can, it's about that big around and probably about that tall. And I don't even think I agree with that name, Clean Mountain Can. Nothing is really clean about it. It's disgusting. And the bad part is that we share this can with our team, and you have to fill the can up for about a week before you can throw the bag away in this big crevasse at 14,000 feet. So you can imagine after several days it starts getting heavy, and the worst part is the smell. It's just I won't even, you just use your imagination.
Oh my god. Oh, that smells worse than our tent.
Yep.
Be careful. Here, go this way. Is it tight shut?
Yeah, it's tight.
Into the.
Here. Hold it. Okay, be careful. You don't want to rip the door.
I think that when we're carrying heavy loads that we're not necessarily aware of it, and it does get heavier and heavier. And obviously on the mountain, when you're carrying this poop bucket, you're very aware of it. But in our own lives, we're carrying burdens and resentments that we're not even aware of, and it's just getting heavier and heavier. And so we have to come to a point where we realize, I have got to release this because it's hurting yourself. And often we can hold on to offenses or burdens, and the truth is it's causing us to have our own waste and our own poop that happens. It's not just what has been done to us, but it's what's stirring up in us because we are not releasing it. And so as you saw in the video, it is so crucial to let go, to be able to continue to climb and to get to the places that we want to get to.
Yeah. In relationships, we never think about this kind of stuff. We think, actually, I think we oftentimes will get into a relationship and we want it to actually heal us from some stuff, get rid of that stuff. Maybe it's a new day, a new chapter, something I'm going to go through, and it's going to redefine me. It's going to help me become a better person inside. And we're running from stuff. So we get into relationships hoping that it will create a fix. But like Tracy was saying, I don't think that we ever really realize that by the cloud of I love you and you're pretty and I just want to get married to you and get into a relationship, we never think about, well, they have things that they add to the bucket, which we've experienced some of that together. I mean, each one of us, how we view our family of origin and come back to the space and saying, hey, you know, we're going to make a family, and then all of a sudden we get in fights about, wow, your family was this way. I wasn't very connected with my family, and now your family is in my life, and that's a lot of poop. It's just a lot. And it adds to the bucket that is partially full from just the things that you've experienced and the things that are in your life. So you're sitting there and you're carrying all these things, and oftentimes we just don't know how to deal with it. We get to a point where it's like it breaks, you know, because we don't know where to put it. Kind of like in the video, I guess. So that we're sitting there trying to pull it out, and we constantly are ripping at it, and we don't want to get it everywhere, but it's getting on us, and frustration builds, and we're kicking it, and the bucket breaks. I think the same thing happens within our lives, in our relationships, because this is something that's shared. Together we do things. We experience things. We go through hard times. We go through good times. And when we don't have the knowledge about how to get through those, then we can get into some pretty serious spaces of self-doubt, shame, guilt, and a lot of pain, because we want it to be gone and we're tired of carrying it. It's just too heavy. What the cool thing is that we have an opportunity to do that together. We actually can work that together.
And you can make that decision. That's the great news too, is that you can make the decision to release that poop. You don't have to hold on to it. You might not know how to. You might need people. They had a team of people that were working on it to release it. You might need to tap into healthy relationships and counselors and people that can help you learn how to. But to have the desire to means that you can release it into the crevasse and get rid of it forever. And that's the awesome thing too, is that it's all sealed up and it's gone, and it's, you know, into the deep crevasse and can stay there. I find that in our lives, that heaviness of that burden that we're carrying can build up without us even being aware of it. And obviously in the video and when you're climbing a mountain, you're very aware of your poop bucket and the smell and the heaviness of it, and it got really heavy, and they really got to a point where they were like, we have to get rid of this or we can't go further. And in our lives, those things, the same thing is happening in our lives, but we're not conscious of it. And so we are being inhibited from going further up the mountain and getting to where we want to go because we are carrying this very heavy burden. And so learning how to release that is going to be crucial. And being aware that it's there, and then being taught how to release that poop bucket, or the poop in the bucket, will allow us to go further up the mountain. There was one time where I had to deal with forgiveness, and forgiveness is such a big general term, and I had to work through it in myself to figure out, how do I forgive this person? So there was a person who was never going to be aware of how they wounded me, and they were kind of carrying on as if nothing had happened. And I kind of asked myself, well, what will it take for me to forgive? Like, do I want that person to come and own up to everything that they did? And I realized that even if they did that it would not deal with what I experienced internally and the hurt that I experienced internally, and nothing would. Nobody else can ever know what that felt like and what that wounding felt like. So I had to decide to release that person, and to release that burden that I was carrying, knowing that that God can identify with what I experienced and nobody else can, and that He can take care of that and help me release that.
Yeah, in relationships, I think we come to the table thinking it's going to change some of that stuff that's in our lives. We want to come as a new start. We want to get into something new, allows for us to be distracted from maybe even the chaos that we've experienced and the things that are built up in our lives. So here's a new beginning in a relationship. She's pretty. I want to have babies and develop life together. But never do we think that, wow, there's going to be more that's going to be added to that bucket. I'm already carrying my own stuff. I already have wounds and hurts from my family. And then I get married, and then we develop wounds and hurts or things that go awry. And then you have your in-laws, and they get involved. Tracy's in-laws wanted to be very involved with our lives. Mine, not so much. We're gypsies, and if we're in the presence of one another, we're in the presence, and we laugh and such. But there's all these things that start adding to the bucket. And I do believe that, like Tracy was saying, that we need to get to a place where when we feel so stuck and we're kicking the bucket and we're pulling on the bucket, it is good to have people that are around us that help us remove that. And when we get to a place, even when we can't figure it out, I believe other people can be there with us. Forgiveness is a huge thing. It's impossible, I believe, and unrealistic for us to say we can forgive and forget. It's just impossible. To move into a place where we can release ourselves from a burden that we only feel inside. Tracy mentioned that it was internal just to her and the other person's not aware. Or if we are in a relationship and we make our feelings known and then the other person asks for forgiveness. These are the beginning steps of a process to rebuild relationship, rebuild trust, and it takes a process. It's just like going up the mountain. You don't just go and start climbing a mountain. You have to prepare for it. You have to look at it, and you have to study weather, and you got to understand all the little intricacies so that you don't continue to get hurt. You don't just go out there. You want to learn some things. So getting guides and having counselors, Tracy's mentioned that before as well, is huge to help us understand the process of forgiveness so that we can truly release that burden that we carry from ourselves and each other into the crevasse.
Take a moment to answer this question. How and when will I deal with a relationship challenge that is weighing me down? Record your answer and discuss with your group before moving up to Camp 5.
I've been really tired before, to the point of exhaustion where I was barely even standing up. I've carried some heavy loads before that felt like they were breaking my body, and done some very long movements and just pushed myself to my limits, what I thought was my limits previously, and trained in really cold weather. Climbed multiple 14,000 foot mountains before, but now that we were at 17,000 feet and it was about probably in the negative 30 range, all of those factors were combined at the same time. And I never experienced anything like that. And I actually, we're digging out our bivouac site and getting ready to put our tent up. And some of my buddies told me, I think it was Huxley, said that I handed him the tent stakes and told him it was a shovel that he could use to dig with. So I don't know if that's true or not. It probably was. I was slightly delusional. I walked up to Sergeant Gusty and asked him how he was doing, and he mumbled under his breath, "There are no words." And he's exactly right. There are really no words to describe that moment. But after trying to sleep that night, I really couldn't even sleep. My heart was racing all night long, and I could actually feel my heartbeat in my ear. It was the weirdest feeling. But we survived, and I was able to heal and recover over the next day.
Huxley,
What is up, sir?
look at me.
How you like that?
That is beautiful. This is one of those days we can't forget. Sergeant Major, how you feeling?
Good. Slight headache.
Yeah, same here.
Feel like I'm high in the world.
Slight headache, a little bit of throw up taste.
Yeah.
Can't talk straight, stumbling.
I don't have the throw up taste.
Oh. Hey everyone, I'm really weak right now, feeling terrible, but I'm with great company, like Sergeant Phillips.
Yo.
Always cheery and excited.
I'm making blocks. I'm making you a home, sir. I promise it's gonna be 5-star.
How are y'all feeling today? Feeling amazing? There is no words for this day, truly. Sergeant Swope, how are you feeling today?
Pretty good, but I need you. These.
What, just because I don't know where I am doesn't mean I need to eat your...
Yeah, no.
I told you, I know this is Mount Everest. How many times do I have to tell you? Oh, look at those eyebrows. Wow.
Is it? Look how frosty.
Yes, those are beautiful.
Just call me Jack Frost, John Frost.
How about you, Sergeant Major? How would you recap today?
Excruciating.
Yes.
That's how I would call it.
Extreme cold, wind, while we're at 17,000 feet altitude. And what else am I leaving out? Huxley pulling me up by the rope up steep terrain with thousands of feet drop off on either side, trying to kill me.
Headache.
And then getting here and trying to set up camp. And how fast do you think the wind was blowing?
At least 20 miles an hour.
And what do you think temps were?
Probably like negative 15.
Yeah. So with wind chill, probably at least negative 20, you think?
Oh, I'd say even worse.
While we're trying to set up our bivouac
30
site?
below.
30 below, probably?
Yeah, I mean, I was in full level 7, shoveling and working hard, and still I mean, I wasn't dangerously cold, but I wasn't warm.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit more normal right now, but how was I acting earlier? A little...
You were.
Little weird?
You were. Ask it.
You were spaced out.
I saw you stumble, Sergeant Major.
Yeah, I tripped a few times.
Oh, you tripped. Okay.
No. Like, you were over and you were cutting, and then you'd stop and cut it differently, and it made no sense at all.
I saw you. I looked up and I saw you staring at me. I was cutting like my line was so crooked it was ridiculous.
Oh yes.
Well, I mean, either way, it's but it's what happens. And that's why I went and talked to you several times.
Oh my goodness!
All right, are you?
Hey,
sure?
thanks for that gel. You hooked me up with some gel, and what was the other?
But I felt it too. Like I went and I had to untie the bag that this fly was in.
Yeah.
Simple knot, and it took me much longer than it should have.
Yeah.
And part of it was my hands were cold, but I also could not figure out exactly how the knot, and it was a very simple overhand knot.
Yeah.
So it's just what happens when you first get here, and hopefully your brain and body adjust. If it does not, then we give you a Dexedrine and we take you down.
Oh, I'm feeling better now. Yeah.
And I can tell just by the way you're talking.
Yeah. I was trying to. Usually I resort to humor when I'm trying to cover my true emotions. So I was trying to joke a lot.
You were slightly worried, weren't you?
I was hurting.
I mentioned this earlier, but I am a huge proponent, cheerleader of counseling and therapy. I have seen a counselor individually just to work through past wounds in my nuclear family from growing up and having a difficult relationship with my mother. Individually, as I got better and became a better person, honestly, and got more healing in that, then that impacted my marriage relationship. So definitely for me, I think it's been through the avenue of individual counseling the most. Definitely also, I am a Christian, so through my relationship with God, there has been times where He's walked me through past hurts and brought me healing that way as well.
I have never wanted to feel like I did when I was 18, which was at a very desperate moment. So for me, not wanting life anymore at that moment, I think was a huge thing for me to say that there has to be something else in order for me to heal from past hurt, wounds, hopelessness, meaninglessness. So I, like Tracy, have a life that is filled with God, which is important to me, but also gathering the tools necessary for me to heal from those, whether it be a mentor. I've used a lot of mentorships with other people, those who are stronger along the journey than I have been or have traversed the journey, whether it be individuals or for Tracy and I've tried to find some couples that can really speak into our lives and help us traverse.
All right, so right now we're on the Autobahn, which is just beyond the 17,000 foot camp en route to the Denali summit.
Military spouses are priceless. They have to deal with so much, with service members being gone constantly in training and over the past couple of decades deploying multiple times and leaving them behind with children and doctor's appointments, and the list could go on and on of all that spouses do while their service member is away. And my wife has made many, many sacrifices, and really thankful for everything that she does. And so I wanted to do something on this climb that would show her my appreciation. So I had this little postcard made up, and it had happy birthday written on it, and it said from the summit of North America. And I had no way of knowing what day we would actually be on the summit. I was planning to just fly it on the summit regardless of what day it was. But we woke up on the morning of her birthday, and we walked to the summit, and I was able to get a picture holding that card up on the summit of North America on her actual birthday. So that was really made the summit a high point for multiple reasons.
Well, you've made it to the summit, and this is an incredible time in your journey, having worked so hard, climbing the mountain, going through all the camps and the struggles, and pushing your mind and your spirit and your body to heights you never knew you could go. And here you have the view. It's beautiful, and you're with people who you love and care for, and that's the cool thing, is that you are with those you love, being able to experience the view and just having the reward of working hard to get here.
Yeah. You did it. So the payoff, it's great that you've been able to make it this far. Proud of you in your journey. And I think that I always try to encourage people that it's a process. Relationships are a process. Relationships with our family, relationships with our friends, relationships with coworkers, our spouse, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever, are all a process. And I think we have a tendency to want to throw that process out. Maybe that's the bucket rather than just the bag. We want to throw that away rather than embrace it and understand all that there is for us as we gather together at the summit to see, look how far we've come. Look what we've been able to achieve together. That was a challenge, but yet we were able to get here together. It's difficult to get there alone. So embrace the process, embrace your relationships, allow for there to be that place of forgiveness. We learned about that. And each camp that you go to is going to continue to raise your quotient, if you will, to just continue to achieve. Each camp will encourage you to where you can get to this space and say, we've done it, look at this view. And then you get encouraged to go even further and say, what about that view? What about over there? Let's go there. We can do this. I know we can. So congratulations, and thanks for joining us on the journey.
Take a few minutes to answer this final question. When was there a high point in your relationship, and what did you learn from the experience? Record your answer and discuss with your group. Once complete, please take a brief survey.